Hey everyone, and welcome to Extra Time, the post-match phone-in show here on the channel, with myself, Dazzling Dave, and of course my co-host from the podcast, Amy. How are you, Amy?
I'm very good. I'm very, very good. I'm feeling we were texting before the match, weren't we? And I said I had a good feeling about tonight, and I'm very, very pleased with the result. So,
Yes,
what about yourself?
I did get asked on the live stream earlier, to be honest, Amy. They said, a couple of people asked, how is Amy feeling about the game? And I did say that you'd messaged me and that you'd got a good feeling in your bones.
I tell you, I had a bath tonight at like 4:30, like to chill out before the match, and I think that might be I was just in a really relaxed mood before the game. So maybe that's the way forward. Chill out before the match, have a bath.
You were fairly chilled out. And Andrew Benson says, "Love the white shirt, Amy."
Thanks. This is 2 seasons old.
JH Game says, "Hi, Dave and Amy." Jerry, good evening, Amy and Dave. Alfie, hello, Dave. Hello, Amy. And we've got Welsh Wolves here as well.
Fantastic.
Tenbury Wells Martin. Hi, Dave. Hi, Amy. So we're just letting people turning up now and stuff like that. And so we're getting quite a few people in the chat coming along. And if you're just joining the chat with us and the show, please feel free to share this stream on your socials. Let other Wolves fans know if they want to get involved. But we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people backstage, Amy, all ready to go. In fact, there's 5 backstage already.
Fantastic.
So before we get on to everyone else, you haven't got a man of the match just yet, because you've got, guys, if you're coming on the show tonight or you're coming on in the chat, you've got to persuade Amy on who the man of the match is, because Amy is the most non-committal person ever.
That's harsh. That is saying I'm non-committal. I don't think that's right with it. No, I don't. I usually come in the match, but I just think tonight, I think we'll come on to it in a bit. But for me, we really needed that performance tonight. It was a very, very solid team performance that was inbuilt from the back. I mean, we'll probably come on to it, the fact that there wasn't much up front, but what was up front, when we got the ball through on the few counters that we had, it just felt like we were going back to the Wolves that we've grown to know and love in the previous 3 seasons. And for me, that comes from it being a very central team performance. They all looked like they knew where each other were. They just looked a lot more comfortable tonight. And that comes from the back. So that is, for me, why I don't think it's deserving to highlight one player when they were all collectively.
But you are open to persuasion?
No, I haven't said it now.
Right, we're going to get going, because we're going to do it in order of everyone that's logged on. So I'm just going to change the screen quickly, which will make more sense in a minute. And first in the block, in fact, he was here before kickoff. It's Jason.
Here he is.
Jason.
Oh, he's got a little smile tonight. Is that a little smile?
Listen, I've noticed I was quite negative last time, and I was negative on Twitter as well, and that's not usually like me, because like I always say, I am a massive happy clapper. But tonight could have been a bit of not a banana skin as such, but Chelsea had a new manager, and the players that have let Frank Lampard down aren't going to let this guy down tonight, because they're all playing for a shirt, they're all playing for a contract, they're all playing for the rest of the season. And to be fair to Wolves tonight, it wasn't a classic. We know that first half wasn't great at all. And I think I was tweeting about motorway routes home from London. It wasn't great, but we did the job. Most importantly, we got a clean sheet. We didn't concede first, which we have been doing. And I think overall it was a very, very strong defensive performance. Offensively, I don't think we did a great deal. Yes, we attacked in patches, but it wasn't anything too obviously clinical. But I think defensively, I think we did very well. We kept a clean sheet, and there are very, very little complaints from me, because before the game, if we'd have said, look, we want a point tonight at Stamford Bridge, I think we'd have all took it.
100% agree. And the point at Stamford Bridge, I think, and getting a point at Stamford Bridge when you've had a few wins on the back of you take that. So to go to Stamford Bridge and get a point when we've not had a very good run of form at all, I think is a very, very good result. And to get the clean sheet after, what was it, 12, 13 games before tonight without a clean sheet or something like that. So
12, yeah.
So I think that's it's something really positive to take forward to Saturday at Crystal Palace.
100%. And I think obviously there's 9 or 10 games where we've conceded first. And I think obviously it comes hand in hand with not conceding first and keeping a clean sheet. And I think the problem is when we do concede first, the game plan's out the window, because I don't care what anyone says. Nuno doesn't train them all week and say, right, if we go a goal down, this is where we're going to. Yes, I'm sure there's a plan B, but they don't go into matches looking to concede first. And when we do concede and we go a goal down, you can tell sometimes it is a bit of we're shell-shocked, and we know then we've got to score 2 to win. And it is pressure. And I think tonight we just played with a bit more confidence. I think what was good as well, obviously, we had Jose, the new lad, off the bench. Look, we can't expect someone to come off the bench with 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes to go and make a huge impact. But the fact he's in the squad now is positive. I think that if against Crystal Palace, if he starts or gets, at least 45 minutes, I think that's when we're going to see. But we can't judge players off the bench, in my opinion.
No, I think you can't. It's right. You can't give a full review of a player or judge a player. But I was impressed with the 10, 15 minutes, whatever he was on. Yeah. I just thought he looked solid. He looked solid, and he looked like Traore played a lot better. Because Traore for me wasn't really there tonight. We didn't get the ball to him for him to be able to do anything. But when Jose came on, I don't know, he just seemed a bit more confident and just seemed a bit more in positions that Jimenez would have been in. And I don't want to compare him to Jimenez because he's not Jimenez, but he did seem to be that more of that forward player that we've been missing.
I think the frustrating thing with Traore, for example, Traore, we know he can win a game on his own. He can turn 3 points out of no points. We've seen it at Man City away last season. Or was it the season before? Anyway. Or was it? We can see how he can turn a game on its head completely and win a game. And if he could do that every game, he wouldn't be at Wolves. That's the fact. He'd be gone for 70, 80 million if he could do that every game. But he can't. And the people at the top of the game who can do it on a sustained period, obviously, are playing for the really big clubs. With Jimenez, what I don't want is Raul Jimenez to come back under too much pressure. And I think the signing of this Jose guy will take a little bit of pressure off. He's a similar player to Raul by the look of things in what I've seen. And listen, it'd be great if we could get 1 or 2 goals before Raul come back. And you could see tonight, I mean, Neto's a great player for me. And he got a couple of crosses into the box. And what was we lacking at the end of it every time? A proven number 9 who can get the head on it. And we are missing Raul massively, but we can't rely too heavily on him. And I think this is why we need someone else. And I do stand by what I said before, that Fabio Silva isn't, I'm not going to slate him tonight. Fabio Silva is not the answer. And Patrick Catroni is not the answer. And look, I don't need to tell people that. I think they can see that clearly. And I just hope this Jose starts positively, gets off the ground running, maybe gets a goal early doors in the next few games. And, I think that's going to make a huge, huge difference, having a target man we can aim at.
Jason, just to conclude, because you make some really good points again, as always. How would you rate the performance tonight out of 10? And who are you going to call as your man of the match for tonight?
Okay, so I will give the performance tonight, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. So I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit. Performance-wise, I saw a very interesting tweet on Twitter of a guy who said John Ruddy tonight was on the bench and he was making that much noise and pushing the players on. I was going to joke and say I'm going to give John man of the match, but... it just proves that it's not just the players on the pitch who make a difference. What I will say is man of the match for me tonight, Willy Boly. on the basis that we've got a clean sheet away from home, a difficult place to go to. We haven't clearly conceded first, and Willy Bolly, the Wall, is back in defence, so he's my man of the match.
It's a fair comment. He looks like he's back up to full fitness. He was imperious at the back tonight. And we have been struggling, as we know. Before we come on to our next guest, which is Paul, just to give you a head up, if you're listening backstage, Paul, you were next in. The fact that we dealt with 13 corners tonight, multiple crosses, we had Kilman, Cody, Bolly at the back three. Willian, when he came on at the end, he made a very important clearance right at the desk. Then if you noticed, that is what Raul used to do on defensive. We looked a lot more secure defensively. We did, take a, what's the word I would say? Have a few scares, but generally I thought we kept them out quite well and we looked solid. We did.
I read there was another statistic I read that the first half, Chelsea had made 400 passes or something, which is the record.
A record or something.
And then they were like up to 900 by the end or something. But what did they do?
Well, the thing is, I think the way you judge football, and especially results, is if the ball goes in the back of the net. And it's all right playing pretty football and making 400 passes, but as Wolves fans, for example, if it was us making 400 passes and not putting it in the back of the net, we wouldn't be happy, would we? So It's all right playing football like that, but at the end of the day, if it ends up in the back of the net. And I think Wolves went there today, accomplished performance. We've got a point. We've got to be happy.
Fantastic. And Jason, thanks again for joining us on the show. Much enjoy you coming on. And do you agree with Jason's points? Does anyone disagree? And do you agree with Jason's man of the match? Thanks ever so much, Jason. We're going to bring on Paul.
Guys.
See you guys.
See you later.
Cheers. So we're going to bring on Paul for his debut. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Amy. Hope you're
Hi,
all right.
Paul. You okay?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Now, just before we get started with Paul, this is another one of the tennis that me and Manny have played tennis against, and he's also part of the is it the Samosa crew?
Yeah, Samosa delivery man as well.
Yeah, helps deliver.
Man of many talents.
Yeah, and he helps obviously with the raising the money with Manny's Dementia UK. But I've got to, before we get onto the game, I've got to say this guy is the most hardest player to play at tennis. He has these lobs that he does that bounces a million, and he just, no matter where you hit it on a tennis court, it just comes back all the time. He's super fast.
I've only got one shot, Dave, and that's that really annoying lob that I play towards.
It works though, doesn't it? It always acts on the baseline. So, Paul, what's your points, thoughts on the game tonight? What points do you want to make?
I think one point that I'd like to make is that I know that Chelsea have struggled for form a little bit last few games, but one thing that you've always been able to say about them is they're free scoring. They can score goals, multiple different players from across the pitch, and we didn't really give them much of a sniff tonight. So for me, that was really satisfying how much we limited them to any real chances.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd take from it, I've been a big advocate really of sticking with 5 at the back. I know that not everybody agrees with that, but that is a formation and a template that has got us to within touching distance of a Champions League spot last season. And for me, I think we have to persist with it for the time being, because I don't think our fullbacks are good enough defensively to play in a 4 at the moment.
Yeah,
so
I think
I was really pleased that we'd gone back to a 5, and it's good to see that template that had been so successful for us be implemented yet again.
I think they just all looked, especially Cody. You could just tell he was just so much sure of himself of where he needed to be. He could command the back and just do, the job that he does so well that we've all grown to rely on. And they just filtered forward, I think. And I know there wasn't much offensive play out all tonight, and I don't think any of us expected that to be, really high up the possession. It was never going to be a possession game for Wolves at all tonight. So I just think, agree with yourself that it was just nice to see the back back to where it was, and it just kind of infiltrated, just was a lot more positive. Everything, the energy of it all just seemed a lot more positive tonight to what we've seen in the last few weeks, and I think that just definitely just comes from that change in formation.
Absolutely, and I do agree that, especially if you remember that match against Brighton at home just before lockdown, 0-0.
The last match that we went to.
Yeah, didn't create a thing, and there's quite a few other examples of matches like that. So I do agree that some tweaks and changes needed to be made if they wanted to progress, but it's not the right time and they're not the right personnel to go with 4 at the back. And for me, one way of progressing with a 5 is to have a number 10, like Daniel Podence could be for us. You know, he's different to other midfield forward players that we've got in the positions that he takes up, the tricks that he's got, his inventiveness. So for me, any evolution could come through with that kind of tweak rather than having to go to a 4.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point.
Agrees that we should stick at the back 5, and there's a mischievous young man called Merv Bennett who actually always buys the samosas off Manny's Samo for Saturday. He thinks you're Jota in disguise.
Yeah.
Have you had that before, Paul?
I think I've got Nathan Judah to thank for that, because I think he keeps calling me that. I don't mind it. It could be a lot worse.
It could be, yeah.
I can see the Jota resemblance, to be honest, as well. So,
what did you think of Willian Jose's cameo tonight?
I think the first thing to say about him is that he's going to offer something different. You can tell by his physicality, the positions that he takes up. I can completely see why they've signed him. And I think Tim Spears said it on his podcast this week that he's pretty much the best signing that we could make in these circumstances.
100%.
And looking at his goal record, looking at his attributes, I think I'd agree. He's a guy as well that's got something to prove. If he does well in the next 6 months, he's got to move to a team that's finished in the top 7 of the Premier League 2 years in a row. So yeah. He's not coming. He's not like a Diego Costa who's
seen out his time almost.
Yeah, I know this guy's not. He's 29, isn't he, Willian Jose? So he's got one big move.
6 months younger than Raul.
Yeah, he's got one big move left in his career, and this could be it for him. You know, and who's to say that if he does sign, he may end up playing with Jimenez? It doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. I know they might be quite similar in terms of being like a link man, a number 9. But yeah, from going back to your original question, I'm encouraged. I think he should start on Saturday. He's been playing for Sociedad, so he comes with match fitness. And for me, if we've signed him for a very specific purpose, get him in the team on Saturday.
Well, that's a good point. Before we get on to your performance rating and man of the match, and next up in line is actually my doubles partner, Manny.
The legend.
A question from Robert Fletcher. I think it's aimed at you because he says Diego, but it's Diogo. Do you think Crony should be given more time?
I kind of agree with what Jason was saying on the last. He was the last caller, wasn't he, on there? But
yeah,
you can't fault Catroni's effort certainly in his first spell. That, you know, when we had him at the start of last season. I don't think so. I think I'd be more inclined to be starting Willian Jose. I just don't think Catroni fits with Nuno's system. I know there's been rumours about him not necessarily fitting with the group as an individual. So for me, I think the short answer is no.
Yeah.
But I can see why he's brought him back in the short term.
100%. And just to finish off, Paul, I mean, thanks for coming on the show and making your debut tonight. Much appreciated, Jota.
That's what you'll be known as now, Paul. Whenever you come on, Joffer's coming on.
I've got to tell you, one of my international fans that send in the international fan reaction, he's the spit of Neves. Honest to God, everyone thinks he's Neves. That'd be good if we had you and him on at the same time. That would be funny. They've got the Wolves thing. What's your performance rating out of 10 and your personal man of the match tonight, and why?
I'll go with an 8, simply because it was so urgently necessary to keep a clean sheet tonight. Also taken into account, I think, as you've said, we could have done better going forward. So it's not a 9 or a 10 for that reason, but we were just so desperate for a clean sheet tonight. I'm going to give it an 8 for that reason. In terms of man of the match, it's a toss-up really between Conor Cody and Bolly. I think without either of those tonight, we don't win. We don't get the point. Both have made really crucial interceptions, and the positioning's been great again. So I'll go with Bolly at the 2, but Conor Cody runs in very close.
Fantastic. Thanks. I think some great points that you've made there, Paul, and I hope you'll come on the Extra Time show again for us in the upcoming games.
I'd love to. Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I look forward again when we can get outside on the tennis court, because I've been watching videos on YouTube about how to deal with this guy that gets the ball back and lobs it to the back of the court all the time. Me and Manny have got a plan for you the next time out, I tell you.
I need to extend my repertoire of shots, don't I?
Good idea. Thanks ever so much for joining us. And I say next up will be Manny. So all the best, and thanks for joining us on this one, mate.
Cheers both, and
thanks, Paul.
See you, Manny, as well.
Nice one. So next up, we have the main man himself, who probably, before we start, Manny, how are you doing?
I'm in bed.
He's in bed. He's had a long thing.
I've got the lights off. I've got the table lamp on. It's burning the midnight oil for me, for old people like me. This is.
We have got potentially another Samosa Saturday coming up, depending on what.
Yeah, we should be okay. Doing a risk assessment with the charity this week, and they're all thumbs up. So if things stay as they are and don't get any worse, we'll be out there delivering to the fans. And
it raises money for what is a fantastic cause, very close to all of our hearts, Dementia UK, right, Manny?
Yep, man, it's brilliant cause, and charities need our help, so we'll carry on doing what we can do, and thanks to all the fans who get involved.
Brilliant. So Manny, let's obviously have your thoughts and points on the game tonight.
Yeah, you know what, fabulous defensive masterclass. You put it this way, we played Chelsea twice, we played Arsenal and Spurs. If you take those 4 matches, we scored 5 goals in those 4 matches and got 8 points from 4 matches. Then we play Burnley, West Bromwich Albion and Brighton. Let's go 4 at the back in those games, and we score 6 goals and get 1 point. Yeah. So, we needed to cut out sloppy goals. We were conceding far too many sloppy goals. I actually love the 4 at the back. I think it makes us more attacking. We create more chances, but we just don't have the right personnel to play that way. I think it was brave for Nuno to try that, because let's put it, we failed last year because we didn't score enough goals. We failed on goals scored. We didn't have the goal threat, and he wanted to improve that. And he did improve that. We didn't take the chances, and we didn't have the striker because Raul gets injured at the wrong time. But we conceded so many sloppy, individual errors, players out of position, big gaps. And you saw tonight, our back 3 were all comfortable throughout the whole game. I think the wing backs played better, even though they were very defensive and offered very little going forward. You could see it was a quite clear game plan to take on a side. Remember, they've got a new manager. They're all up for it. They all want to impress him.
I think you could tell that in the first 10 minutes, couldn't you, Manny? The way they were right at it for the first 10 minutes.
Of course they were, and it's considering that fact alone, it is a really, really impressive point, considering, we had a pretty dour match against a non-league side, and we thought, oh my God, where's the pattern? And we attacking wise, we had very little threat. But if you look at Dendonker's header and Neto's lob, that was probably the two clearest chances in the whole game.
Wolves had the two
chance.
Yeah, that's right. I just mentioned Dendonker's header and the Neto, and then obviously Dendonker couldn't control the one that came to him.
Passed to him. So I think out of all the attempts, even though Wolves did they have any on target?
But no, they didn't. I mean, let's be honest, we didn't offer a goal.
But anyway, I think we can all sit and just say for Wolves, it was a solid performance, wasn't it?
You know what? I'm a cricket fan, I am, and in cricket, sometimes the best matches are draws where the two last batsmen just stand their ground and they face deliveries and they celebrate it like a victory. And I think this is not the way I want to see Wolves play. I don't want them going into matches, having a defensive wall put up and no one shall pass past us without having any threat going forward. But it was a means. It was a must-do thing today, just to get confidence back in the defence. Everything looked solid, and then that's a base for us to go forward from. Now, I think personally, I don't think we have the right personnel without Raul in the side, to play in an expansive way with 5 at the back. That's why I think he changed to 4. But this new guy, he came on. We know very little about him. We've watched obviously all the clips, and he's got a good record in Spain. But as soon as he came onto the pitch, he just looked like a huge unit, like a presence, like someone who would bully the defenders and not give them time. He ran back, chased back for the ball, back into his defence, very much like Raul does. So I thought it was a very encouraging 10 or 15 minutes. Obviously, you can't judge his whole, the way he plays.
Well,
but
literally got off pretty much today and come and played.
Yeah, because no one thought that he was going to get his visa through to play.
He landed last night. He landed last night. Got his work permit last night, and today, we can name 9 subs. So it's quite an easy thing to just name him on the bench because you can name so many players. But really brave of Nuno to say, "Go on then,"
But that shows his fitness that he's got to kind of.
Oh yeah, I think he's fit and ready.
Come in, so.
Yeah. I mean, when was it Rui Pedro Silva, the assistant, was talking to him on the sidelines. He had this piece of paper, and I said to my son, "He's telling him this is Dendonker, this is Neves, he plays for us. This is Pedence, he plays for us," because he probably didn't have a clue. He was fresh into the side, wasn't he? So.
But it shows he's hungry though to come on and want to play and be on the bench and be there.
He's at the age where he wants to play and he wants to. Every game is a must for him, and he wants to make an impression. And his goal record, 1 in 3, is very impressive for La Liga. He's the only person in the last. There's only 3 other players in the last 4 seasons that have got double figures in La Liga, and I think Messi and Suarez are 2 of them. So he's in good company.
That is
in La Liga. He scores goals. He's double digits, and in the Premier League, that will be invaluable if he can add goals. So there we have it. I mean, it's a positive thing tonight. Really, really positive point. Yes, people will say, "Oh, we didn't create much." We went to Chelsea away after a really barren run of conceding so many sloppy goals, and you could tell the game plan was no.
I think the clean sheet tonight, Manny. And we've got a side question for you on the screen in a minute. If you can see it from Robert, just have a look at that about the cricket. I think the big thing tonight, psychologically, keeping that clean sheet is a massive, massive step after 12 consecutive Premier League games. Of conceding first, to go away to Chelsea with a new manager bounce, the quality that they've got, and playing like we did, solid. It was kind of a little bit like when Wolves came up the first time to the Premier League, just finding our feet, getting the basics, and then I think once we get the player, we get Johnny back, and we get all the players fit, and this new chap gets into the role. I think hopefully we can have a strong finish to the season.
Definitely, you know what? One thing I have to say, don't be daunted by the run of games. I just talked about playing Chelsea twice and Arsenal and Spurs and getting 8 points from 4 games. So, Wolves can live with good sides and can play good sides. Today was, probably not the way we want to see our team play. We want them to be a bit more expansive. We want the ball to stick, but we didn't have the right players. And hopefully, like you said, Willian Jose is the man who can hold the ball, bring the midfield into the game, and I don't think we should abandon 4 at the back either. We should have that up our sleeves as well.
I agree completely, and I think he's been trying to play it because he wants us to get more offensive, but run of injuries, trying to put round pegs in square holes has affected him.
And it's just about getting if we can play 5 at the back and get the confidence back within the team, get a few wins under the belt, get safety. Don't think we're going to get relegated. Don't take that the wrong way. But I think if we just need a few wins, some solid performances to get the confidence, and then maybe they can afford to, when everything's a little bit more settled, start to play 4 at the back again.
Yeah.
Just before we finish off with your ratings and your man of the match, Manny, Robert Fletcher's got this question because he's quite interested in the cricket. He wants to know.
Oh, okay.
That's my question. Who you following cricket, Manny?
Well, to be honest, I grew up following Worcestershire, believe it or not, and in particular, Robert will know Graham Hick, who's a fantastic batsman for them. So that's I used to follow his career, and obviously, being of Indian origin, cricket's in our blood.
Did you play a bit?
I really wanted to play. I didn't have the time. I was playing football and hockey every other day, so I didn't really play cricket now.
So just to let everyone know, backstage at the moment, we've got Rhea and a dad. We've got Wolfman Jeff, but the next person on will be Aiden from Canada, Ontario. Manny, just to finish off with, what would you give the rating and who's your man of the match for tonight? We're trying to persuade Amy on who's the man of the match.
Okay, first of all, rating, I'll give 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 is a good rating. Let's be honest, the way we've been playing, and that's for the clean sheet and going to Chelsea. So that is actually, if you think about it, is a pretty good, a bar of where we're at. That is only a 7 from me. Man of the match, I'm going to go. Obviously, the back 3 played really well, but he gets a lot of stick. Nelson Semedo, right? Tonight, Ryan Aitnouri has got injured, and it looks like a bad one. He came off at half time. It's been confirmed it's an injury. So he's been switched to the left-hand side to match up against Callum Hudson-Odoi, who was probably their biggest threat.
He played well.
And then they brought in Pulisic and Mason Mount on that side, and I thought he did really, really well. I was really impressed with him. So I'm going to give my man of the match to someone who's got a lot of stick and he needs confidence. And and I thought he had a really good match in a very high class, facing a very high class opposition. So,
well, Spencer Rock's there saying that's a good shout, mate. And you've also got Wolves themselves are saying that it's brilliant, as a brilliant call as well. I think that's a good argument for Semedo, to be fair, because he did have to adjust to his position and he gave everything. So it's a good shout, that is.
Yeah, I think his best performances, I think he's played a few of the bigger teams. He's played really well. Maybe he's that type of player sometimes, who's played at Portugal at the highest level, played for Barcelona. Maybe at the moment he comes alive when he plays better opposition. I don't know. And, against the Burnleys and the Brightons, he might struggle a bit. But I'm sure he's improving and he's getting better. You can tell even Ryan Aitnouri had more defensive, knowledge about the game today. So it's something that they're clearly working on with both of the fullbacks.
Well, that's good, isn't it? Well, Manny, thanks for coming on. I hope you can jump on again, hopefully at the weekend. If you can.
Hopefully, we'll see.
It's not too late tonight because some of these have been quite late.
You know what I'm wearing, Dave?
You what?
Okay. Number 2. It's Matt Doherty's hand-me-down.
Where have you had that from?
The foundation gave it me when I raised all that the money for the sleep out. because I thought I raised more than anyone else. They gave me his shorts and his tops, a couple of his tops, and I thought they said they'll give me an X-Play, and they gave me really mapped out. Absolutely
fantastic, mate.
Yeah, so I can play right back next game if they want me.
Yeah, get on.
Mate, you've played a couple of charity games, and hopefully, I mean, one of the things we want to try and organise is, you know, when we can all get back to playing football again. It'd be nice to have a game.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
One day. But thanks for joining us again today, mate. I much appreciate it. And some great points made.
Yeah. Look after yourselves both, and thank you for the questions.
You too. And we'll speak soon.
Yeah, speak soon. 5K in the morning, Amy, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. I'm out at 7:15 tomorrow, so I might see you.
Yeah, just to let you know, mate, she's been out running every single day this month.
So have I, virtually.
I know.
No, she runs very close to where I run, but she runs about twice the speed as me, so it's just like road runner.
She is fast.
He sees on my Strava all the time. He gives me the encouragement.
I do, yeah.
Fantastic, mate. Thanks, mate.
No problem.
See ya. Bye, Manny.
Bye.
Fantastic points again there from Manny. So next up, all the way from Ontario in Canada, Wolves supporter with family back in Wolverhampton, it's Aiden. How you doing, mate? Aiden Purcell.
Hi, Aiden.
Hey guys, I can hear you. I can't see you. Of course, my phone decided to freeze up right now. But how you guys doing?
We can see you.
We can see and hear you. We're all good.
That's terrifying.
How's things going with you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. The distraction of football lifting my spirits a little bit again today, so that's good.
It's good to say that it's lifted your spirits, because last time we spoke, I don't think your spirits were lifted at all after the Everton game. So it's nice to hear you say that anyway.
Yes. No, I mean, I think if we were all offered a point before the match tonight, we would have taken it, right? So, I mean, we got to keep that in perspective and move on with the positives that today presented. So
what were the positives for you from that game, from that performance tonight?
I mean, I agree with everything Jason, Paul Jota, and Manny said. I think that defensively, that's exactly what we wanted to see. I put a tweet out there right before the end of the match. I almost jinxed it, really, but I put a tweet out there saying, you know, 5 at the back, pace and attack. This is what we wanted defensively, right? So certainly defensively in our shape and our structure and just maintaining that foundation in the back was key today. I think that if we would have had the opportunity for or taken the opportunities and controlled a little bit better at some of those moments, you know, that would have been a classic 1-0, you know, away performance against a big club like we've seen over the last couple of years. So I mean, we're just missing that tiny little bit. Hopefully William can provide that for us. But again, I agree with the other guys. It's a little bit too early to certainly judge his performance based on a substitution performance today. But he did work hard. He looks big. He looks strong. Looks like the kind of target man we've all been asking for to get on the end of those Neto and Podence crosses. And by the way, Podence coming back, I think that was a big win right before kickoff as well.
It was very unexpected for everyone as well, I think. I voice noted my friend and I was like screaming down the phone almost because it seemed to come out of nowhere, didn't it? That Podence was back. I just saw that team sheet and was like, that's a confidence boost in itself, isn't it?
Absolutely. 1,000% agree. I mean, like you guys, like everybody else on here, we pretty much live on Twitter, especially on match days, right? And nothing's a secret anymore, right? And to have Willie and Jose kind of come out of nowhere, to sign him out of nowhere was amazing. I certainly didn't expect him to be available today. I don't know about you guys, but to see him on the bench was great. And then Podence out of nowhere. I mean, unbelievable. So we had three great victories, you know, in a pretty quick time frame, and hopefully this type of result, you know, keeping a clean sheet against a free scoring Chelsea and all the opportunities for a new manager bump there. Hopefully this type of performance can kind of spur us on a little bit. I do think we're just a couple pieces away, but I do actually believe Nuno now when he says that the answers are in-house, because we've got William. Johnny's close to coming back. I think if you have Johnny on that left wing back position instead of Aiden today, that would have been a pretty big impact as well. Not that Aiden did poorly, but Hudson-Odoi certainly had him in his pocket for moments during that first match.
Yeah.
So I think we're close. I think we're really close to kind of seeing the Wolves that we wanted to see, and it's been a bit of a transition year, and I think we're on the right direction, anyways.
My thoughts, Aiden, is that pretty much similar. I hopefully we'll have a strong end to the season. I know people have been worried, but we only literally need 4 wins out of the remaining 18 games, and we're safe, and hopefully we can have that great cup run. And we've had to go back to the foundations. But I do think sometimes in life, generally in life, sometimes you have to take a step back before you take a step forward. And I think if everything works and we have a good summer transfer window, I think what we're going through this year will make us stronger going into next season. That's my feelings. Just apparently, Sheffield United have beaten.
I've just seen it on the back of your screen as you've been talking to us, Aiden, and I was like, that looks like a Sheffield United win to me. So I've just looked on BBC Sport, and they won 2-1.
Yes, yeah. One of the kind of off topic, one of the things that blows me away, and it has for years, is the lack of available matches you guys have on TV. I have every match available. Doesn't matter when it is; it's always on.
We do at the moment, but we don't usually.
In
the pandemic, because of COVID, every game is on
good
Sky.
Yeah.
But
always blown my mind that you could be across the street from the stadium and not be able to have the match on the tube, right? Wild. But big result there. That's why the Premier League's the best in the world, right? Anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
Well, that's why it is one of the best leagues in the world. And if you get some topsy-turvy results, that'll give them a lot of confidence as well, won't it? Aiden, just before finishing, the next up after you will be Rhea and a dad, and then we've got Wolfman Jeff, the legend, after that. What are you going to give as the rating of the performance out of 10, and who are you going to persuade as the man of the match today?
Well, quite often Manny and I interact on Twitter, and unfortunately I've never been able to meet him, but very often we are on the same page with many things. Today was no different. My man of the match was Semedo. I could have given it to Bali or Cody, maybe even Dendoncker or Neves, but Semedo and his ability to adapt and his ability to that high press that he was showing today, certainly in the second half when he started pressing up on Hudson-Odoi when he came over to the left. I think that makes a big difference. I mean, you guys have heard me scream, "Stop the cross" a million times, right? He did that today, right? He's my man of the match. I thought honorable mention to Willie Bali and Connor Cody. In the past couple of weeks, some of those crosses that came in, it was frustrating because not only did the cross come in, but two, they didn't attack the headers. So they were kind of caught standing still many times. And I know it's a small thing, but just Cody cutting out some of those intricate crosses and those unique kind of cross angles that were coming in, I thought was such a big boost today from the back. So all that being said, Semedo's my man of the match for his ability to adapt, and that high press I thought really helped.
And what did you give us the rating of the performance?
I was I would have taken, like, the defensive side of things was a 9 out of 10 for me, but everything else offensively, I thought Traore was very frustrating, as everybody else has kind of voiced today. I'd like to see him come off the bench next week, to be honest with you. So going forward, it was frustrating. We couldn't hold the ball. The passing was loose. So that was frustrating. So because of that, I'm actually going to go down to like a 6.5 overall rating. But defensively, we were solid. So, 1/3 of the pitch is taken care of. Now we need to work on the other 2/3 of the pitch, and I think we're close. And
we can move on to Palace at the weekend.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to tempt fate, but we generally have a decent result again.
Don't say that, Dave. Don't say that.
I said I'm not tempting fate.
You did. You said that, and you said it.
That's like saying no offense and then like blasting somebody, right?
No offense, but no offense, but.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, mate. Aiden, well, that's fair for 6.5, and you're going with Semedo as well. So there's quite. So we got two.
Semedo looks like he's winning it for everyone today on this, anyway.
Graham's going with Kilman and a 7.5 on the thing, so it's brilliant. Aiden, thanks ever so much for joining. You will be able to see Aiden's international fan reaction along with Amy representing the UK. That'll come out tomorrow sometime. Regular on the international fan reaction over there what's the full somewhere Ontario? What's the
yeah, it's well, you should know actually. It's Waterloo,
Ontario, Canada. That's it.
Yeah, we're about an hour west of Toronto.
Have you still got snow?
Oh yeah, I mean you could ask me in March if I still have snow, and the answer will still be yes. Absolutely, we're buried.
Hot in the summer, cold in the winter.
Extremes.
Well, thanks ever so much. Until the next one, mate. Thank you.
All the best, guys. Stay safe.
Cheers, Aiden. Bye.
Bye.
Over in Ontario, in Canada. And next up, we've got Rhea and her dad, and followed by Wolfman Jeff coming after that. So we're going to bring on Mini Amy and Dad.
I feel like they don't like they just sit and wait for this after every game, because they're always
we just stay until the next game.
Stay there, don't they? But I hope you're maybe moving a bit around and a bit better after that result tonight, maybe.
Yeah.
Bit happier.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we played really well, didn't we?
Yeah.
Solid defensively. And going to a place like Chelsea, I said, before the game, I'll be happy with the draw. And I am.
Take 1 point.
Yeah. 5 at the back. I'm much more comfortable with us in a defensive sense, playing that way. There's room for other formations when we play different teams, but when we're playing teams like Chelsea or the big guns, then 5 at the back I think is our go-to option. We just look a lot more solid, and Chelsea just couldn't find an answer to play through us.
And they did they said, the possession, I think they had 76% possession or something, but they didn't. I did think they didn't seem like any threat. Like
no, they struggled to break us down. First half, they didn't really get a look.
They couldn't break us through. It was very steady defensively, very solid.
Yeah. Second half, they got in behind us a couple of times, but then people like Bolly or Cody would come to the fore and make a last-ditch tackle, clearance, or head it away. So overall, for me, a very impressive defensive performance, although some people may complain about the lack of attacking threat.
Saying that, though, we did have the best chances, don't you think?
Yeah. Neto's chance, Dendonka had a few.
Yeah, Dendonka had a header in the first half.
I think Neto's was the biggest. It was off the crossbar.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to, when it went in, I thought it was going to bounce on the crossbar and then bounce in, but obviously it didn't. But it would have been phenomenal if that had happened. But you say, if you keep a clean sheet, you can't lose a game, can you? You can only draw or win. So from that perspective, going forward, hopefully they can keep a clean sheet, but also score a goal on Saturday, and that will be progress indeed.
Against Palace, we'll naturally have more of the ball. We'll naturally be a more attacking threat. We won't be the same game against Palace. Hopefully we'll set up the same sort of way, but maybe with Jose coming in as a focal point. Great physical presence, great to see somebody up top who looks like they've got something about him, who can hold the ball up, fend off big centre-halves and make the ball stick, because that's what we've been lacking. So I think at Palace you'll see hopefully just as good a disciplined defensive display, but with that added threat in attack, because we'll naturally see more of the ball.
Do you think he looks a little like Diego Costa? A few people have said he looks a bit like it.
I can see the resemblance. But it's really positive that he was available to be able to play after all the visa issues, and but I think it seems to have given all the fans a lift, the performance tonight. So we've just got to hope it's given the changing room and all the backroom and staff at Wolves a positive lift tonight, because it was much needed. We all know it was much needed, don't we?
I think you're right, Amy. I think it's given a lift. And I was saying on my live stream to those that were watching it, it's like he's going to get a header in the last minute and win it. And he kind of wasn't a winner, but he was right there, right at the end. Because when that corner came across, did you have your heart in the mouth when he got the header?
Yeah, I just thought we've given away so many goals this season. Like, we've been on the receiving end of it this year. We gave them out last year. We scored and we were in the positive line of, you know, scoring a goal in the last minute, but being on the receiving end of it this year. And I was just like, today it's got to be a turning point against Chelsea. It's got to be a turning point. He was in the exact position Jimenez would have been in if he'd have been on the pitch.
Yeah.
And then he blew the whistle, and I was like, we've done it. We've got a clean sheet, and we're on to the next. So, yeah.
Wasn't it great as well, guys, to see Daniel Pedence in the starting lineup?
Yeah, it was a surprise as well.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back.
Yeah,
it really makes a difference in the game.
Well, the thing is, when we play teams like Palace, which is our next game, then I think we'll see the best of Pedence in games
we'll
like
be attacking more, whereas today we was more back defending because they're an attacking team, Chelsea.
Yeah, today it's not the type of game you'll see the best of Pedence in, because today we were sitting and absorbing pressure. When we play more on the front foot and we're going up teams, like we should do more at Palace, we should be more on the front foot and looking to win the game. Then Pedence is a key player.
Yeah, because he's a very creative player and he can help us get more goals.
Yeah, he's got that creative spark, hasn't he, Pedence? And when he hasn't been available, you know, we've had Traore and Neto in them wide areas, but because he can play in that 10 area, Pedence, behind the striker, he offers you a little bit of creativity in a different area of the pitch.
The other thing I think, when you've got Pedence and Neto on the pitch as well, when you've only got the one, it's obviously they're both tricky players, low centre of gravity, like to run, have got a drop of the shoulder, got an eye for goal. When you've got one, obviously that's a lot easier to defend. When you've got two players like that can interchange, it's hard, a lot harder to defend, and it opens up the space. And if we can get Willian, obviously maybe we'll start as the focal point against Palace. And going forward, we Pedence, Neto, and also Traore. He's fast, but he's strong, but he's not a jumper. If you look at that front three, there was no one with any real height getting to the box to cause the defenders to worry about crosses coming in. Hopefully, now we've got him, we'll have that threat. And he did look as if he could put himself about.
Yeah.
He did look as if he could hold the ball up. And he did look as if, I mean, looking on, obviously, watch on the YouTube, he can score with either foot, and he's not averse to coming in late into the box to get on the end of a cross either.
Yeah, well, we've missed that massively. And since Rel's been out, that presence up front who can get on the end of crosses, the times balls have been flashing across.
Yeah, and it's just no one's been getting on the end of them and getting the ball.
Flashing across the 6-yard box or flashing across the area, and then you're just lacking that physical presence in the middle. We've tried Silva, we've tried Catrone. To me, both of them ain't going to be the answer.
No.
Silva maybe in the future, I don't know. Let's see how he develops. But
I think Silva's been thrown in a lot earlier than they planned, isn't he? I mean, I think Silva's going to be a player. But obviously he's still 18. He's not fully developed yet. He's not. He's got to.
He needs a ball up.
He needs to be stronger. He's too weak.
But I do think from what we've seen of him, I do think he's definitely. I've got faith in that he is the right decision for the future, but not for now. And I think.
I hope so. I mean, we spent 36 million quid on him, so hopefully it turns out to be a good investment. And obviously in a year or two we'll see more whether that's right or wrong. At this moment in time, he's not the solution. No. Yeah, he's there as an 18-year-old with potential who we hope can grow, develop, and he does show. So he's had good games. It's not like he's never been any good. He's had some good performances this season.
He makes he gets in the positions, doesn't he? I mean, he's had a good chance, and he's technically gifted. It's just strength, and he did show composure to put that one goal away the other week. And he had the goal to step up and take the penalty, but I just think he's probably. It's a bit early for him, and it's
physically he cannot handle the physical demands of playing against big, strong centre backs like we've encountered in these games. He's played against people like Duncan, Webster, and Burnley. For Burnley, people like that. For Brighton, and then the Burnley centre backs who are like Tarkowski and me. People like them, big, rough, tough centre backs. You put Jose in with them, and then you've got to scrap. He can go head to head with them. You put Silva in there,
he's too weak.
And he's looking too lightweight.
Yeah, I agree. And just before we get on to Wolfman Jeff from Alabama, who's coming up next, you both have got to give your own rating and your own individual man of the match. So you can't do a joint one. Okay. You've got a dad rating first, and a Rhea rating, and then we'll come on to Dad man of the match and Rhea man of the match. So, Dad, what's your rating for performance out of 10 first?
I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I'll give that a 7. What do you think?
Rhea?
7.5.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a bit more positive.
Rhea first for the man of the match. We'd say Rhea's first for the man of the match.
I think Bolly, he was winning all the aerial duels, was doing his tackles, clearances, and he did his job correctly today.
Yeah, he did play well. I would have gone with Bolly, but just to say something.
That's why I said Rhea first.
I'll go with Semedo. Just to be different.
He played really well as well. Yeah. He had to change as well.
He had to change sides, and he stuck to his.
So there's another one. And Amy, you're going to have to pick between Bolly and Semedo at the end.
I got the final to say. Is this what we're doing? We're collecting the votes, and then I get the adjudication at the end.
So you're getting all the arguments for Bolly, pretty much, and Semedo.
It looks like they're the two that are coming out by everyone. We'll see what.
They've made the points, and we'll have to. Interesting to see what Wolfman Jeff comes up with next. Guys, absolutely wonderful again to have you on the thing. Thanks for waiting patiently backstage.
Thank you.
And no doubt we'll probably see you at the Palace game.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
We'll probably be on last. There you go. And next up, they're lovely, aren't they? They're lovely. Little mini Amy. All the way from Alabama, USA.
Here he is.
Hey. Dave! It's Dave! It's Dazzling Dave! How you doing, man?
You can tell it's like midday in Alabama, can't you?
Hey, it's what a difference a week makes, right? So different from the last time that we talked. What did you say?
Yeah, I mean that was after the Albion game, wasn't it? So I think we're all
And yes, and even though we did get past Chorley, it wasn't inspiring, our match against Chorley. So we were kind of like on the ledge outside of a building, and someone had to talk us off. And so we needed.
Do you feel inspired tonight? Do you feel like you're being talked off that building?
Well, as soon as I saw the lineup, I felt much better. It was like a burden lifted. First of all, Pedence starting. That just seemed to come out of the blue for us, and to see that Jose was going to be on the bench. I didn't even if he didn't play, the fact he was going to be available on the bench just felt like, okay, that was encouraging. What was confusing, though, was seeing the lineup is he had 3 strikers sitting on the bench and none in the lineup. So that was interesting. But I think the other encouraging thing when we saw the team sheet was having the 3 at the back, which we've been saying for quite a while. We need to go back to 3 at the back, and of course, I think that was very crucial for today's draw, and I think that was gave us a boost. And part of it was because we're starting to get our players back in, so we could do that. So that was good. So I didn't feel like we were like whites or skeletons who were summoned army of the undead. We actually were a football team today, so that was good.
Good. And then, so you were obviously inspired by the team sheet, and then I'm assuming that went on to the performance as well. You didn't just stop at the first bit.
Like Aiden, I felt that way for the back third of the field in particular. I think our defense, played the best we've had in a long time on the defensive end. The midfield, actually, I don't fault the midfield too much. I think Dendonka in particular, he was originally who I had picked for man of the match because of his header. And I thought that Neves was in the game. Neto is always going to be giving his all. He's out through there. I was a little worried about if Pedence really was back. Obviously, no question to his heart, but I think he was. I'm not sure if they were targeting him.
Jeff, I think it's probably going to take him a couple of games to get fully back.
Exactly. And so that's why I wondered about that. And yeah, it wasn't the best Traore game. So that front end was not as inspiring. But the most important part is we took care of business in the back. So it's like not quite a mullet, but trying to be a mullet. You know, we got the business in the front and party in the back. So we had the business in the back, but the front was just
I have
like,
never ever heard a football game the analogy based on a mullet haircut. That is just fantastic. That
Amy, I am in Alabama, so that should be implied.
Yeah, but Tom Peake wants to know: would you ever move to Wolverhampton?
Let's see. I would be willing to. Probably not right now because my mom, because of her health, she's staying here with us, and so I could probably get a visa over there. I emigrated before to Canada, and but I don't think I could get them to take her in at 80. I'd like to. I'd be interested in it.
Have you been to Wolverhampton? Have you been to Wolverhampton, Jeff?
Not yet, Amy. I've not been. I've got relatives who were from Shropshire and from Sefton over by Liverpool, but that's in my area. I've actually been looking at maps. I may have actually even looked at houses for sale. But,
I mean, maybe come for a visit before you commit to living here, because it's probably a bit different to Alabama.
It's just out of curiosity, because I figured if I go, I'm just going to stay with Dave anyway. He doesn't know this. But,
mate, I can't wait for you to come over, mate. Honestly, when you come over, we'll show you the sights of Wolverhampton, and then 5 minutes later we'll go somewhere.
Well, I live in a village of about 550 people, so it's going to be more impressive than where I live now. So
no, be brilliant, mate. I can't wait for you to come and go to a game. I mean, we all can't wait to go to a proper game again at the moment, but that'll be something to look forward to when you come over, mate. I hope you can do it in the next couple of years. Be amazing.
That would be great, man. That would be great.
Fantastic. So what is your rating of the game and your man of the match?
Well, I think I'm going to come back, and I'm kind of similar to what Aiden had on overall rating. I'm a little higher on mine. I'm going to go for 7.5, and I probably a lot of it is because the defense I would put as a solid 9, and but just not enough threat in the front. I do think that Jose, when Willian came in, I think he was a physical threat. He was intimidating, and as much as I loved watching Daniel Podence back, he's got amazing foot skills, but he's not a towering physical, intimidating focus there. And so it's a little bit different from Raul, but he's able to fit that slot in there. I'm really hoping that we can get him starting a match, and I think that's going to change things up front. So it's just not enough bite up front, so that's why I'm just having it 7.5. Man of the match, I had mentioned before, I was initially a Dendonka, especially with a header, but as I've been going back and thinking, listening to everybody else, and also just kind of re-examining the match, the defense was the win of the day. And I'm going to try to persuade Amy here, who is on the fence.
Now, why have I got the lead say?
No, because Dave said so. Because Dave said that we have to convince you over man of the match because you were not committed. So if the idea is that we surely can see that it was our defense and really the whole team, if it was the whole team that really was your man of the match, then if you had to pick one person, wouldn't it be the captain? Wouldn't it be Captain Connor Cody? Obviously, they're leading the way, leading that back line on defense, but leading the whole side and keeping our heads up and keeping that business in the back. The anti-mullet. The anti-mullet.
Keeping the mullet together.
You might get Cody with a mullet as well. That would be.
Oh, God. That's going to give me nightmares before I go to bed, Cody with a mullet.
I think you've made a good case there. She's going to have to answer in a minute and decide what she's going to go for. But Jeff,
go in. My internet's gone. Lost him. Who do you think?
Absolutely brilliant to have you on, and again, you'll be able to see Wolfman Jeff's international fan reaction will go out tomorrow with other fans around the world. Look out for that. Jeff, I hope you can join us on another one of these in the future, whenever you feel like it, because it's always a great entertainment having you on, buddy.
It's good to be on here. Good seeing you guys. And that's one of the cases where a draw feels kind of like a win. So I'll take it.
Absolutely.
And that's a good note to finish on. Thanks ever so much, Jeff.
I'll see you guys.
Cheers, Jeff. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
See you, buddy. So let me just change the backdrop. There we go. So, Amy, there's been some fantastic calls again tonight.
Indeed.
Some really good calls. Have you been persuaded on which person that you're going to go for the man of the match? I think Dendonka's code has been mentioned, Semedo and Bolly quite a few times. Who are you going to go for?
I think this isn't my opinion, because obviously my opinion is the collective team, but I'm just going to round up the viewers' thoughts of the man of the match. And I think I'm going to go with Semedo as everyone's decisive, always Wolves post-match phone-in show extra time man of the match, because I think there's a few good points made is that he's been critiqued unfairly in quite a few situations, I think, a lot recently. He's obviously had very big shoes to fill in replacing Doherty. And I think the key tonight is that he obviously made a switch to the other side, which isn't his natural place to play, which shows his capability as a player, but also that he was, a team player as well. So based on the fact that it is an overall team performance, that tonight, that highlights the fact that he is versatile in the team and can help others out, because obviously Hoover didn't have the confidence to play on that side to replace Aiden.
It's a good point. He did have to adjust. So between me and you, you've popped in with Semedo. I'm going to stick with Bolly personally.
Well, those two seem to be everyone's favourites tonight, so we'll say them. I think that
probably pretty much covers it up between the two of us. And just before we round up, Amy, looking ahead now from tonight, getting that clean sheet, looking ahead to Palace. I'm not going to ask you to make a score prediction because I know that you're quite superstitious on that in some ways.
Well, now I'm like, I'm going to have a bath before every match now because I had a bath tonight. So I'm going to be having
and you wore your shirt.
So I'm going to have to be having a bath at like 2:00 on Saturday afternoon. So
that's not your pre-match ritual.
It might be the new pre-match ritual. Who knows? There's not a lot else to do at the moment, is there? So the superstitions continue.
How would you line up against Palace at the weekend?
I'd keep 5 at the back. I think we've all kind of concluded that's the way, and I'd keep it. I know myself and Dad were talking. Stace obviously hasn't played a few games, but I think I'd stick with Kilman, to be honest with you. And then like pretty much the same. I don't know whether it's too early to start William.
Although he is fully match fit.
He is match fit. So, and I did think he made a difference
in there. So, players.
I think maybe let's just go for it. He's here, and he's here to do a very specific job. So let's get him going. And I do feel like Palace is like Pedence's team. Like he scored against them in October. He scored against them in July. And I think that's the game. So I feel like Pedence needs to start against Palace. I feel like it's teamy shines against. So
I was going to ask you a question on that, actually. Interesting, because obviously if he goes with a similar formation, the 3-4-3, and maybe starts Neves and Dendonka again, he might switch it out for Martino or not. If you're going to play 3 up front and you're going to start with Willian Jose, and who would you drop out the front 3 out of Pedence, Neto and Traore to the bench?
Maybe Traore and bring him on as at the 60-minute mark, as we've seen him do a few times. I wouldn't drop Neto. I think Neto's, considering the run that we've had, I think Neto's been a very consistent player with his work rate, and some of the touches he was having on those balls tonight were just really, really, really good. So I'd keep Neto in and probably bring Jose in and probably keep Podence in as well. But we'll see. But it's exciting that we sat here talking about
having
options that we've now got, especially up front since Jimenez and Podence being injured. It's not really been much of a talking point. So it's really positive that we've got options. Don't really, if Aiden injury is quite bad, I don't really know what we're going to do. I mean, I assume they'll just have to start with Hoover and Semedo as they finish.
The other option is to play Saiz on that one.
Yeah. And Saiz, that's the beauty about Saiz, isn't it? Because he's very, very versatile, as we all know. But it'd be nice to see Saiz come back, to be fair, because I do enjoy watching him play.
He always gives everything. I always remember that game when he was on his back at the end of the match, the Middlesbrough game, I think it was, wasn't he? When he was just a plank on the field at the end of the game. But I think we'll have to wait and see what comes out about Aiden. Probably the game the weekend. Let's hope it's nothing too serious. But on the positive side, on the injury front, obviously Nuno has mentioned about Raul Jimenez. We could see him before the end of the season, which would be amazing. Someone put earlier on in the chat that he could come on and score a 93rd minute.
I see that, actually. I mean, that would be make up for the other week. I mean, I keep saying that to all my Baggies fans. We spoke, didn't we, before, and we said it would be nice for the Albion to stay up so we could actually go to a derby next year. But I just want them to go down again, to be honest. I don't think they add anything to the league.
And finally, on the wing back situation, both Johnny Otto and Marcel should be available in the next couple of weeks. Which, I mean, Marcel's obviously had that operation to try and sort him out. But
I mean,
Otto's coming back would be like
would just be he for me out of all the players that we've seen at Wolves in the last. He is the most underrated player that is at Wolves, 100%. I just think the way that he can control the game, the way that he can play is just we have really missed, and no one has fulfilled that role in his absence.
Absolutely right. And so all in all, a satisfying evening's work. Okay, it's 0-0, but goal, not conceding a goal for the first time in 12 Premier League games. Podence starting, Jose coming on. We had the best chances actually out of all of it, even though we get the possession. It's feeling a lot more positive this week to finish off on, and hopefully looking forward. If we can follow that up against Palace and be a little bit more offensive going forward, things could be starting to look a little bit rosier going in over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. January is always a tough month for everyone.
Absolutely.
So I think, we're coming to the end of it. We're seeing it through into February, and let's just hope we can end the month with a win against Palace. I think it would be really fantastic, and another positive performance. So just build on what they've gone to tonight, which I'm sure they will do.
Yeah, and so just to finish off, thank you to all of our guests that have phoned in tonight. If you do want to get involved on the Palace game, which will be the extra time will be a couple of hours, about an hour and a half after the Palace game is finished, just go over to the Always Wolves Facebook page, like it, send us a message, or contact us through Instagram as well, that you can get in touch with us, but mainly on the Facebook page. And you could be on here with me and Amy after the match against Palace, and hopefully, fingers crossed, celebrating another good, decent performance, and hopefully 3 points would be magnificent. And thanks again, Amy, for co-hosting this show with us again, and for everyone that's joined us in the chat. Until the next one, always Wolves. Fantastic. Take care, everyone.